In a world that's been dominated by tradition for centuries, the election of a new pope is always a moment of immense significance. Yet, as the cardinals convened to select a new leader of the Catholic Church, there were whispers of an eerie prophecy, one that many believed was far from being just a coincidence. Edgar Cayce, the famed sleeping prophet, made a bold prediction decades ago. According to his visions, a new pope would rise under unusual circumstances, and his leadership would come at a time when humanity would face its greatest trials. The prophecy, while mysterious, seems to have grown in relevance as the world confronts turbulent political climates, shifting societal norms, and a rapid change in global leadership. For those over the age of 60, this prophecy has become a haunting reminder of the challenges that lie ahead. It isn't just the selection of a new pope that captures attention, it's what this selection symbolizes and the greater trials humanity is predicted to face in the coming years. In a world increasingly divided, many find themselves turning to ancient predictions for answers. Cayce's words echo as a sobering reminder that our future may be shaped not only by the decisions we make, but also by the unseen forces guiding us through tumultuous times. As the days go by after the election of the new pope, more and more people are reflecting on Cayce's prophecy with a sense of unease. His words weren't just a prediction about an individual, but about the times the world would soon face. For Cayce, the future wasn't a fixed road, it was filled with potential, shaped by the choices we make and the forces beyond our understanding. What was most unsettling about Cayce's vision was his warning of a pope emerging at a time when the Church would face a monumental trial. This trial, according to Cayce, would not just be one of faith, it would be a test of humanity's spirit, morality, and the very foundations of what we hold to be true. The new pope, in Cayce's vision, would be a leader who would confront these trials head-on, guiding the Church through turbulent times. As we watch history unfold, it's hard to ignore the parallel patterns. The rise of new leadership often comes during times of crisis. Whether it's political unrest, economic downturns, or the collapse of long-standing institutions, the world seems to be on the brink of a transformative change. The age of certainty is over, and the search for answers is intensifying. For those over 60, who have lived through the rise and fall of empires, the changes seem more pronounced. The uncertainty of the modern world feels all too familiar. Cayce's prophecy doesn't just predict a pope, it predicts an era of upheaval, an era that those alive today are beginning to witness. The Pope, as a leader of the Catholic Church, has always been seen as more than just a religious figure. Throughout history, the Pope has been a symbol of unity, morality, and divine guidance. However, in the modern world, this role has become increasingly complex. The Church, once a central force in shaping the world's moral compass, now finds itself navigating a fractured, polarized global landscape. Cayce's vision of the Pope's role during times of crisis speaks directly to this complexity. According to his readings, the Pope would be tasked with more than just spiritual leadership. He would have to address the fundamental issues that divide the world today. The economic inequality, the erosion of trust in institutions, and the rise of extreme ideologies, all of these would demand the Church to take a stand. The Pope would not simply be a figurehead, but a pivotal force in determining the course of history. As we look around the world today, it's clear that these divisions are growing deeper. People are searching for meaning, for something to believe in. The Pope, whether or not we agree with the institution he represents, remains one of the few figures capable of uniting people across ideological lines. But will this leader rise to the challenge? And if so, what sacrifices will be required to restore balance? Cayce's prediction points to a pivotal moment for humanity, a moment when spiritual and political forces collide, and the future of the world hinges on the decisions made by one individual. Cayce's prophecy doesn't only predict political upheaval, it also foretells an era of profound spiritual transformation. This is where the warning to people over 60 becomes even more significant. Cayce foresaw that those who had already lived through the rise and fall of empires, wars, and technological revolutions would face a unique set of challenges as the world entered this turbulent era. For those in this age group, Cayce's words are not just about survival, they're about the soul's readiness to face a new chapter in history. The emotional, psychological, and spiritual toll of such a period would be immense. This generation, having seen the world change in unimaginable ways, might struggle to find their place in the new world order. But Cayce's prophecy isn't just a warning, it's an invitation. The older generations are being called upon to become spiritual leaders, to guide the younger ones through the storm. The trials that Cayce predicted are not just about external chaos, they are about inner conflict. For those over 60, the challenge will be learning to navigate a world where old values no longer hold the same power. The crisis of faith, personal and collective, will be one of the greatest obstacles, but it will also provide an opportunity for profound growth and transformation. As we continue to unravel the layers of Cayce's prophecy, we begin to see that it's not just about the external world. The true test, according to Cayce, lies within. The Pope's leadership during a time of crisis may seem to be the focal point, but it is the spiritual reckoning that will impact everyone, regardless of age or position. Cayce spoke of an impending spiritual awakening, an internal transformation that would affect all of humanity. But this transformation is not easy. It requires a radical shift in consciousness, an understanding that the external world is a reflection of our internal state. The global upheaval that Cayce predicted is merely a mirror of the inner chaos that many people will face. For those over 60, this call to spiritual transformation is especially significant. They've lived through a world that was once grounded in traditional values, yet those values are now being questioned, distorted, or even discarded. The emotional turmoil of such a shift is not just a passing phase, it's a profound spiritual crisis. For many, this may feel like a loss of identity, a loss of purpose. Yet, Cayce's prophecy hints that this very crisis is the gateway to deeper spiritual growth. The upheaval in the external world is but a catalyst for individuals to dive into their own hearts, to confront their fears, and to rediscover their true nature. It is a time for deep self-reflection, for understanding that peace and stability begin from within. In this context, the role of the new pope becomes even more profound. He may not be the one to fix the world's problems, but he can guide humanity toward a more enlightened state of being. This journey towards inner peace and enlightenment is not about perfection, it is about embracing our imperfections and learning to live in harmony with the world around us. One of the most profound aspects of Cayce's prophecy is the role that faith will play during this turbulent era. With so many external factors shaking the foundations of society, political instability, economic crisis, and cultural fragmentation, faith becomes a vital anchor for the soul. However, faith in this new era will not look like it did in the past. Cayce warned that traditional religious institutions would face great challenges as people increasingly turned away from conventional beliefs in search of answers. Yet, this shift does not signify the death of faith. On the contrary, it points to the birth of a more individualized, internalized form of spirituality. Faith, according to Cayce, will no longer be about adhering to external structures, but about cultivating a deep connection with the divine within oneself. The new pope, as a spiritual leader, will need to guide people through this transition. It's not about clinging to old traditions, but rather about helping people reconnect with the core of their spiritual being. This requires a leader who is not just a figurehead, but someone who can help humanity embrace a new understanding of faith, one that transcends dogma and reaches into the depths of the human soul. For those over 60, who have experienced shifts in religious and spiritual paradigms throughout their lives, this transition may be particularly difficult. Having once relied on the structures of organized religion, they may now be faced with the challenge of finding faith in a world that feels increasingly uncertain. But this also presents an opportunity to redefine faith, to rebuild a personal relationship with the divine, and to share that wisdom with future generations. As Cayce's prophecy continues to unfold, one of the most striking aspects is the generational divide in how it is perceived. The older generations, particularly those over 60, may have a unique connection to the prophecy, given their historical experiences and spiritual journeys. They have lived through periods of great change and upheaval and are, in many ways, uniquely positioned to understand the deeper layers of Cayce's message. On the other hand, younger generations may view the prophecy differently. For them, the challenges ahead may seem more abstract, distant events that are hard to relate to in the context of their immediate lives. Yet, as the world continues to change at an accelerated pace, they too will begin to feel the weight of the prophecy's warning. Cayce's prophecy speaks to the interconnectedness of all generations. The older generations have wisdom to share, but they also have their own challenges to confront. The younger generations have energy and fresh perspectives, but they too will need guidance and support. This generational exchange will be key in navigating the turbulent times ahead. As the prophecy suggests, the key to overcoming the trials of the coming age lies in unity, across generations, across cultures, and across beliefs. The task is not to create a new world order, but to heal the divisions that have existed for so long and build a world based on understanding, compassion, and mutual respect. As we reach the final stages of Cayce's prophecy, we come face to face with the ultimate question: what will humanity choose? The trials predicted by Cayce are not inevitable. The future, according to Cayce's teachings, is not set in stone. It is shaped by the collective actions, thoughts, and decisions of individuals and societies. This final test is not just a moment in history, it is an ongoing process. Each person's choices, each community's actions, and each leader's decisions will play a part in determining whether the prophecy unfolds as predicted or whether humanity can transcend the crises ahead and create a new world. Cayce spoke of the potential for a new era of peace and understanding, but only if humanity can rise to the challenge. For those over 60, this final test represents both a challenge and an opportunity. It is a chance to live out the wisdom they have accumulated throughout their lives, to take the lessons learned and apply them to the challenges of today. For younger generations, it is a call to action, to build a future based on the values of compassion, unity, and spiritual understanding. The question remains: will humanity choose the path of growth and transformation, or will it continue down the road of division and destruction? Only time will tell, but Cayce's prophecy serves as both a warning and a beacon of hope, a reminder that the power to shape the future lies within each of us.